Papa told me I couldn't do a lot of things.
I feel like I'm the chosen one.
Look at this. We created this. This didn't exist before we were here. All we are is proud and passionate. I love Toronto. I love this team. And we're going to the NBA Finals.
Nothing matters but winning.
You're going to the NBA Finals for the first time in your career.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of Rapzville Weekly. I'm your co-host, Gabriel Chelio, along with my other co-host,
Adam Casucci.
And today's episode, we'll be doing award predictions for the 2020 NBA season. So the ESPN forecast panel of experts, and they had voters as well, pulled all the different awards that are done at the end of the season to see, to predict who could possibly win it. So I have all the results here, and what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be reading out the results of the votes, and then we're going to be giving our opinions on it, along with, a fair argument for each candidate or why we think that, they put up a good fight for the award. So to start it off, we got MVP. So Giannis ranked in the most amount of votes, 152. LeBron coming in second with 105. Harden third with 15. Doncic fourth with 13. And Chris Paul in with 5. So I think this is what most people expected. You got Giannis versus LeBron. Obviously, that's I guess the biggest debate of who could win MVP. So, we're going to be focusing on them, but, we're going to acknowledge the other guys a little bit as well. But right off the bat, I think Giannis obviously has an extremely good candidacy to win the MVP. Obviously, his stats are quite phenomenal this year. He's averaging 29.6 points per game, 5.8 assists per game, 13.7 rebounds per game, 1 steal, 1 block. His shooting percentage, his field goal percentage is about 55%. His three-point percentage is about 300. Free throws are not the best, but they're okay. His PER is good, 31.7. It's a great PER. He's playing 30.9 minutes per game. Milwaukee holds the best record in the league right now, so clearly, that's always got to be in consideration because, he's the most valuable player. It's also because of what he offers to his team. Lakers versus Bucks right now, through the season, they're 1-1 because obviously the hiatus had to, to stop the NBA because of COVID. So they ended off the season 1-1. Giannis won it last year, and honestly, this year he hasn't shown much signs of slowing down. He's obviously approaching his prime. He's playing just fantastic basketball, putting up great stats. And, for him versus LeBron, I think where he can take a bit of the edge is obviously that team record and how well the Bucks are performing. But also, I think that, Lakers got another second superstar in Anthony Davis, who obviously is one of the best in the league. And the Bucks, they have Chris Middleton, but I don't think he's obviously as the caliber as Anthony Davis. So I think that's a good argument here. I know, Adam, what's your opinion on this? I kind of know you're leaning towards LeBron, so let's hear what we got to say.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards LeBron here. I think he had an amazing season. He's doing what he's doing at age 35, which is astonishing. It's really incredible, and he also had to go. He had to adjust to many new players and pieces this year with Danny Green coming in, Avery Bradley, and obviously Anthony Davis. Yeah. I feel like his passing is really a big standout that Giannis not really doesn't have, but isn't as good at as him. And I'm feeling his scoring is only at 25.7. It's still really high, but I feel that's affected by Davis coming in. And I also feel he has improved his three-point shooting, and with that step back in some of the highlight reels. And I feel like he's really improved. With Giannis's three-point shot is still a bit of a question mark. So I feel he has the edge there, and also the Lakers do have the second best record in the league. Yeah. So I think that's my LeBron point. I think he should have won.
Yeah, I can acknowledge that. LeBron obviously is playing tremendously for his age, and I think that's the difference there is that LeBron is he's the main ball handler of the team. He's got that point guard / small forward role going on. Giannis, obviously the offense is driven through him, but it's not so much a ball in the hand. But obviously, he does rack up his fair amount of assists. So I think that's good points for each player. And, the votes are pretty even. It could go whichever way, So I guess we got to wait and see what happens. Moving on to Defensive Player of the Year, we have Giannis once again. Has got racked up the most amount of points, 123 points. Gobert came second with 64, which is surprising. He's second. Davis only third with 54 points. Then Patrick Beverley, fourth with 20 points. And then Bam Adebayor, 15 points at the fifth position. Here, oh, by the way, we forgot to mention for the MVP position, shout out to, obviously, Harden, drops insane amount of points. And obviously his individual stats are quite phenomenal. But, I think the difference is that Houston hasn't performed as well as they were planning on this season. I know you can say a bit about his individual performance as a player.
Yeah, I feel that Harden, I feel like he struggles with the team. I think struggles with the isolation basketball. I think Houston's got to change that, and it kind of will change their franchise into more of a playoff winning franchise. I feel like that isolation ball, it's not in this era. It's really hard to win with one guy controlling the ball the whole game, kind of relying on him, not using his teammates as much. But yeah, I feel like if the Rockets can change that, they do have the pieces with Harden and Westbrook, and as well as PJ Tucker and all their role players as well.
Yeah, Luka Don Judge, kind of similar. Individual stats are quite phenomenal, especially for what he's doing at such a young age. Like, he's truly putting together, a great starting career for himself. It's the same thing of the team's performance has not been, the best. The Mavericks, they're not the best team. Obviously, their records are quite lower than obviously the Bucks and the Lakers, but he still puts up great numbers, and I can still see a bright future with him. And one day he could most likely win an MVP. There's not a doubt in my mind that he can win that. And finally, a special shout out to Chris Paul, because the OKC, have done quite phenomenal this season compared to what they were forecasted to. Yeah, especially for what they were forecasted to at the beginning of the year. Chris Paul is aging, and he wasn't putting the best team. They lost Westbrook. They weren't really considered maybe even playoff contenders. I know that percentage is really low.
Yes.
So, they did good for what he has on that team. He performed quite well this season, so it's a good acknowledgement by him. So now back to Defensive Player of the Year. Kind of the same thing. We're going to be focusing on Davis, Gobert, and Giannis as they received the majority of the votes. But, special shout out to Bam, who's a great defender from interior, being an undersized defender, but he's also that undersized also helps him guard the perimeter. So, he's been a great defender of the year. Patrick Beverley, another dog of the league. He can work his way on any perimeter guy with his steals and his gritty defense, to say the least. Yeah. So looking at the stats here, Giannis, 57 games played this season, obviously. Rebounds, him and Gobert both got 13.7 rebounds per game, quite high. Davis a little bit short of that with 9.4 rebounds per game. But, where Davis takes the advantage is most categories. He's got the least amount of personal fouls. He's got the most blocks and steals, especially steals and blocks per personal foul. His deflections are quite high. Charges drawn quite high, much higher than Gobert and Giannis. And where Giannis takes a little bit of advantage is the defensive field goal percentage. Davis coming in second with 38.5%, but Giannis has a 36.1%. So that's the field goal percentage of the person that he's guarding. And team defensive rating, Giannis takes that category. So, Adam, can you give your opinion on who you think should win Defensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, I'm with Davis. I feel like all the statistics that you just mentioned, I feel like he is better than Giannis in most of them, and I feel like he makes more of a defensive impact than Giannis on that end of the floor. And I feel like also the Bucks have really good other defenders like Bledsoe. Middleton on the wing is another great defender. I feel like the Lakers sometimes do struggle with defense. So I feel like he has been a very big and important piece to their winning this season. Yep,
I can agree with you there. I think the Bucks hold obviously the best record in the league, and that should be considered in the the rankings of this. But obviously, his individual stats are quite phenomenal, and it's even the team stats, they're not far off. Obviously, Lakers in second position. So I think I agree with you. I think Davis can make a good candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. Now for the most improved player here, we already know what we're both thinking here. So the first place position, you have Bam Adebayor with 106 points. Right off the bat, I think me and Adam can both say that we think that he's a phenomenal candidate this season. But the other players, that are part of the points were 52 points for Brendon Ingram. He came second. Third was Luka Don Judge with 30 points. Fourth was Devontae Graham with 29 points. And fifth, shout out to Pascal Siakam, 25 points. A lot of people thought, no, he's not going to be considered, but he's up there. He's always up there. He finds a way. So, top two contenders, in my opinion, I think, are Bam Adebayor and Devontae Graham. I think that individually, especially, they both had phenomenal turnaround seasons. Bam went from being a reserve center last year, and now this season he's already an all-star, which is quite impressive so early on into his career. And the Heat have performed phenomenally. They're fourth in the Eastern Conference, and it's a lot of it's due to Bam's playing, with the likes of Jimmy Butler, Kendrick Nunn, some other good young players. But his IQ is just phenomenal for such a young player. His driving kick game has been great. He's a great passer. Eric Spoelstra even said that a lot of the times they run their offense through him because of his great passing and close finishing ability. It sparks a great offense. He's a very efficient player and also a hardworking big man because he's undersized. But that undersize helps him guard the perimeter as well. So taking a look at some of these stats here, he's jumped from 8.9 points per game last season to 16.2 points per game. So we're getting close to double. 2.2 assists to 5.1 assists, 7.3 rebounds to 10.5 rebounds. And, his shooting percentage is roughly the same thing. So I think he just makes a great candidate for the most improved player. The other player that I think also has huge stats improvements is Devontae Graham. He went from being a rookie last year and obviously wasn't given much minutes, but he averaged 4.7 points per game this season, 18.2 points per game. That's just a phenomenal turnaround. And, when we think of most improved player, a lot of the times it's driven by these individual stats of that points per game jump, the assists, 2.6 assists to 7.5 assists. That's a huge jump. 1.4 rebounds to 3.4 rebounds. Even his shooting percentages all went up like that. It proves a lot about the player he is. And, it was a tough rookie season because they didn't have too much minutes, but, this season he really turned it around. He's tended to be very clutch, hitting, countless big shots, a barrage of three-pointers. He's had many phenomenal games, 25 plus points, 30 plus points. He just played great all around. But the thing that I think gives Bam the edge here is the successfulness of the Miami Heat versus the Charlotte Hornets. They were far less successful. Yeah, and along with that, Graham's usage rate is a lot higher. It's 0.249 to Bam's 0.208. So you see that he's got the ball in his hands a lot more. He can do a lot more with it. So comparing that to Bam, who's doesn't necessarily have the ball as much in his hands, like you can clearly see the argument being made that, especially with the success of the Heat, that I think Bam's a top contender. Adam, can you take it away for the next three? We got to acknowledge the other guys because obviously they've had great turnarounds.
Okay, Gabe. I will be doing Doncic, Pascal Siakam, Brandon Ingram, and Norman Powell for the mentions. Starting with Pascal Siakam. Well, he obviously won the championship last year, and he continued to improve his points, assists, and rebounds per game. However, his shooting percentages got lower, and his usage rate was much higher at 208 to 284. He also became quite popular, obviously, last year with the championship run, but so it kind of didn't make it as much of a surprise. And in my opinion, he could have been an all-star last year as well. Moving on to Brandon Ingram. Yeah, so Ingram's main stat improvement was similar to Siakam's and Doncic's. However, his team struggled this year, like the Hornets, sitting at the 10th seed, and it was tough for him. But his usage rate also dramatically increased. He was traded to obviously the Pelicans from the Lakers, giving him a higher usage rate from 232 to 282. And he improved his game, and he's grown as a player, not being in LeBron's shadow anymore. But I don't think he has as big of a case as Graham and Bam. Now moving on to Norman Powell, he increased his point total from last year 8.6 to 16.4 points per game, and he also increased his rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. And this season he's taken over in some big games, and having that wrist injury kind of hurt him a bit. But after he came back, he was on fire, averaging 28 points per game on 40% 3-point shooting in the next 5 games, which was really, really cool to see. And I always knew he had it in him. It's just it was just time. Now going to the Luka Doncic. Doncic, he's already an established superstar, but last year he was still a star, I feel like. And for me, I think the award is meant for people who make big strides in their game, going from nothing to something. And Doncic doesn't really fit the status.
Yeah, you know what? I can safely say I agree. We know that from the past, we know this award tends to be guys that are kind of like no names or haven't had too much, and then they make like a huge increase in their game. Doncic already started off practically like an all-star caliber player, so I don't think that jump is as fitting for an MIP award. Like his numbers are they're MVP worthy. So I think someone like Bam just truly personifies this award, and I think it's something that's basically meant for him. He embodies that role perfectly. So I think it's safe to say that we both think that he is the good candidate for this position. Yeah. So for the next one, we're going to move on to six man here. So we got Harold in the first position, 92 points. He's got most of the votes here. And this one was a little bit of a closer race. We got Lou Williams second, 75 points. Dennis Schroeder third with 70. And then a couple, 13 points, Derrick Rose a little bit there. And George Hill, 11 points, just a little kind of like more acknowledgements here. And, they've done their part for their teams that they've been, Derrick Rose had a pretty good season. George Hill, he's come. I've noticed him a couple times when we verse the Bucks. He kind of sneaks in there and causes some trouble. But I think here the real debate is between Harold, Williams, and Schroeder. That's where I think the majority of this case lies. So let's look at some of the stats here. We got Harold's stats: 27.8 minutes per game. He's been scoring 18.6 points per game, 1.7 assists, 7.1 rebounds, and his field goal percentage is pretty good, 58%. That's quite good. And his PER is also quite good as well. Lou Williams, 29.3 minutes per game, so you see a little bit more than Harold. 18.7 points per game, so roughly the same. But 5.7 assists, 3.1 rebounds, shooting 42% from the field and 36% from three. His PER is a little bit lower, 17.4. And then finally, Dennis Schroeder, 31 minutes per game. He's played the most. And that's basically starter numbers. Some of these guys get away with murder here with calling themselves six men. They play a lot of minutes. So 19 points per game, 4.1 assists, 3.7 rebounds, 47% from the field, 17.2 PER, and he shoots pretty good from free throw, 84% to Lou Williams, 86. Yeah, I think all these guys are pretty good candidates. And honestly, for this one, I'm a little bit of a toss-up of who I think should win it. Adam, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I was thinking. For me, I'm saying Harold Montrezl, because I think him being the dominant big, undersized big, actually at 6'8", he is the more efficient player, I feel, out of these three, and he's the most disciplined player out of the bunch. That being said, his offensive game, the downfall is he cannot shoot the three ball, and being in an era where most of the bigs can shoot threes, and him being 6'8", I feel that's kind of a downfall to his game. And I feel a lot of people have talked about that, but I feel like he is that efficient under the basket and
he makes up for it.
And his post game, and he's great on the defensive end as well.
Okay.
Lou Williams, he is the current winner of the award, and he obviously knows how to run an offense as the ball handler, and that has him averaging almost 6 dimes per game to lead the group, all these players. So he is a great playmaker as well. He's always been known for scoring talents, but he is another downfall is he is a bit reckless with the rock, averaging almost 3 turnovers per game this season. So he is not taking care of the ball, I feel, as well as he could have been. He did shutout. He also did win the award with the Raptors in 2015, his first one, which was really impressive, and he had a great season.
Yeah.
He has 3 Sixth Man of the Year awards, defending it in back-to-back years in 2018 and 2019, and he's trying to win it for the 3rd straight season. So I kind of have him second place right now.
Yeah, he's definitely a good candidate. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, and now having Schroeder on, he's played a ton of minutes, averaging the most out of the three with 31 minutes per game. He is a great pairing though, with CP3 having an unreal season. And the rising star, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, in the backcourt. He's also averaging 38.1% from downtown this season. And he's great when he gets his teammates also involved. I feel penetrating into the lane, draws and kicks. He's great at that and making the players better around him.
Yeah, I think these are all good points.
Also, earlier in his career, he did have experience playing big minutes with the Atlanta Hawks, and he was a main option. So I feel like that really helped him when moving to OKC.
Yeah, I think these are all fair points. They all got something to offer as their candidates. And I think, I think it's a good point for Montrezl Harrell. I think I'll join you there. Is his efficiency is just phenomenal. His field goal percentage is, by far the highest out of the two, between Lou Williams and Dennis Schroeder. And his PR is also the highest, and his usage rate is the lowest. So, that usage rate and the lowest amount of turnovers. So, having the ball in his hands as little as he does, And with that less turnovers, more PER than everyone, and that good field goal percentage, I think it's a good case. He's an efficient player, and I think that can give him the edge. So, I'll join you on that one.
Yep.
Okay, so now we got Rookie of the Year. This one obviously is a fun one, and I think
a lot of talk on this one.
There's definitely a lot of talk, especially going into the season. Who's he going to be? We all had this big debate going, and as expected, we see with the first position most points, we see Ja Morant with 166. Second, we got Zion Williamson, 83. Then Kendrick Nunn, 28. Fourth, Brendon Clark, 16, and fifth, Terrence Davis with 5. Somehow he snuck in there, and I'm gonna say it right now is the way the points work is that if you are voted for the first position, like Rookie of the Year, you get 5 points. Then I think it was if you are voted second, you'd get 3, and then third was 2. And I checked the stats. So someone voted Terrence Davis with the first position. Someone said that he should win Rookie of the Year. Everyone else said Ja as number 1. That's why he has all these high votes. And so every single voter put Ja Morant as Rookie of the Year winner, but one person said Terrence Davis. So all I'm going to say is shout out to that man for giving some respect to the team. Okay, yep. So for the stats, the big debate is always like Ja versus Zion beginning of the season. And I think it's pretty clear where we're going to go with this because they were two of the biggest, most hyped up rookies of the year. But, the stats can't really show that they have a great first years. But I think the decision is quite simple. Really for the fact that Zion only played 19 games this season and Ja played almost 60. So, I don't think it's right to give Zion the award, although his stats were phenomenal. Just for someone who's only played 19 games, it's not the same amount of accomplishment or recognition that Ja Morant should receive for, all those huge plays he's had, big moments. He's getting a lot of fans and supporters because his game's been phenomenal. They're both media icons and basically highlight reel fiends. Ja's dunk on Kevin Love would have been just absolutely phenomenal. And, the NBA went crazy and he didn't even land the poster, but it definitely would have went down in history if he did. So I think it's just clear where, this Rookie of the Year debate should go. And Memphis also held a playoff position at the start of the, the COVID hiatus, and we had to stop the season while the Pelicans struggled to be playoff contenders. And, Ja Morant, to give him his acknowledgement, he's led such a young roster through many games, and he's proved to be an effective leader and franchise player for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I think his game speaks for himself. He's very skilled. He's an explosive player, good passer, high IQ player overall. So if you look at the stats, I'm going to read you some. He's playing 30 minutes per game, 17.6 points per game, 6.9 assists, 3.5 rebounds, 0.9 steals, 0.3 blocks. He's got 49% from the field and 37% from 3. Zion has 29.7 minutes per game, 23.6 points per game, 2.2 assists, 6.8 rebounds, 0.8 steals, 0.5 blocks, 59% from the field, and 46% from 3. Obviously Zion's stats here are looking a little bit nicer, but he's only played 19 games, and he didn't go through, the hardships, up and downs that Ja had. So I think my decision here, and I think Adam can agree, is that Ja Morant is the clear winner here. Yeah, so we got to give our special acknowledgement, though, to the other guys that got votes, because obviously they've had phenomenal seasons as well. So I know Adam's got some stuff to say about these guys who've played fantastic seasons.
Yep. Okay, Gabe. I'm going to be doing Terrence Davis, Kendrick Nunn, and Brendon Clark for the honorable mentions of the Rookie of the Year. So a little shout out to our man TD. He was really underrated this season. I thought Ja won every first place vote from the pollers, except one, which was given to TD. It's great recognition and good to know that people are thinking about him. True Raptors fans know how good, honestly, he can really be and prove himself to be. And he can really spread the floor with his 3-point shooting, great defensive play. He's a great slasher. He's able to explode at the rim. And he's honestly a great overall player. I feel he has an NBA-ready body, especially as an undrafted player. So I'm kind of confused why I went undrafted. But I feel that being Raptors fans, I'm seeing deja vu with the FVV come-up story all over again, with Fred being undrafted as well. It is really phenomenal that he has a mentor like him and to guide him through his first NBA season. Moving on to Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick Nunn honestly had a strong start with the Heat in fantasy drafts. I remember seeing him rise up the ranks and averaging a lot of points, and no one knew who he really was. And he does also play alongside shooting guard, obviously, Tyler Hero. He is very clutch, honestly. I like Tyler as a player, and I think he could be as good as a Klay Thompson or JJ Redick when his career is finished.
Good shooter.
Nunn is also a great rebounder for a guard, and he works really hard to get the box out, and he's a hard-nosed defender, with which Eric Spoelstra prides him off of. And I feel like the Heat, they are where they are mainly because of the rise of Nunn, Hero, and Adebayo having these great seasons. I feel without that, they would be maybe a 500 or below team. Now moving on to Brendon Clark. We know him as this NBA Summer League MVP. Coaches always said that he's a winner. He does whatever it takes to win. He's a great rim protector, averaging a lot of steals and blocks. And he shot a great field goal percentage with 62% this year, which is really good. Even though he's a rim runner and he's dunking and laying it up a bunch of times, but still, it's still really good. And he's also a big piece to their playoff appearance. With Memphis being in the 8th seed, and he understands his role as a rookie, and he's not a flashy guy. I feel he goes on the court, does his job,
overplay.
And he does well, and that's what I feel.
Great. Cool. Okay, So Coach of the Year time now. So right off the bat, to read you guys the Coach of the Year results, we have Nick Nurse, our very own, at the top spot with 124 points. Then we have Billy Donovan, 70, second place. Then we have Mike Buddenholzer, 33, Kaylor Jenkins, 19, and Eric Spoelstra, 18. So what more can we say then? I think Raptors fans expected this. We've been waiting for this moment. I think Nick Nurse 100% should win Coach of the Year. I think it's not much of a debate for me. I think he clearly proves why he deserves it. Right now, Raptors hold the second highest record in the conference, third highest in the league, and after losing a superstar in Kawhi Leonard and forcing such a big change in team dynamic, even with Danny Green being gone and having to sign a bunch of these free agents to fill some of those gaps, many thought the Raptors were going to be lower standards, maybe lower standings, maybe bottom playoff contenders. A lot of people thought we didn't really have much of a shot, especially for championship run. Some analysts didn't even consider us, right? So no one could have imagined the success that the Raptors have had this season, and it has to be given some type of recognition to Nick Nurse for his coaching. Last season, first season as a head coach, you win an NBA championship. That's not easy to do. And, coming back now when giving up, Kawhi Leonard and, something that was helping you get to the championship quite easily, doing what you've done now and creating such a strong team in the regular season, it's a lot of hard work. And 15-game winning streak, the longest winning streak we've ever had. This team has truly performed this season, and you have to give recognition to Nick Nurse for his job as a coach.
Yeah, for sure, Gabe. I feel like him also with his unorthodox offensive schemes. I feel like he does a great job of to think outside the box. I mean, he tests new rotations, shuffling starting positions. He does a great job of just mixing things up and things that a regular person wouldn't think about. And he does, yeah. And coming off a championship, and not winning the award last year, unfortunately, it went to Mike Budenholzer, but he also did a great job last season. But I feel like he deserved the recognition this year, and he got it.
Fair thing. A lot of Raptors fans thought that Nick Nurse could have put in a good argument there for the last year's Coach of the Year, and it's good to finally see him get that recognition. That switch of rotations is something that not a lot of coaches do, and fighting for your starting spot, it really means a lot. So moving on, second place, we got Billy Donovan, and I think he's also a great consideration as his team has performed well beyond expectations, as a lot of people thought Thunder had only a 0.2% chance of making the playoffs, and now they're currently tied for the 5th place in the conference, which is impressive after their loss of Russell Westbrook and Paul George. And now they got Chris Paul, who's an aging star, and the rest of the core is pretty young. I think Billy did a good job of getting what he wanted out of this team, and sadly the record is not as high as the Raps or the Bucks and those other coaches who are up for argument here, but he's done a great job of developing his young talent like Gilgeous Alexander, Dort, Terrence Ferguson, Diallo, and Baisley, like those good rotation players and raw talents coming into the NBA. It was nice seeing him pull that together.
Yeah, for sure. And now I guess moving on to Mike Buddenholzer, he holds the best record in the entire league for the second year in a row, which is pretty incredible. Being the Coach of the Year winner last year, he has done a good job at keeping Giannis engaged and helping his team play at a high caliber level. I mean, he has a great system in place with the pace and space offense, with Giannis handling the ball, and then the high volume of 3-point shooters around him, with Giannis threading the passes to them. I mean, his defense also is amazing. I mean, he's very defensively organized with the hedging tactic that Milwaukee uses, with the bigs protecting the paint while the guards working hard on the perimeter, trying to get the contest on the shots. And I felt Mike has for another year made a good consideration to be another candidate. But Nurse, I feel, has this one.
Yep, and also giving a little shout out also to Taylor Jenkins, what he's done with his young squad, Memphis. They have had a great year, especially with that core. They've played quite outstanding basketball, so give him the shout out he deserves. And Eric Spoelstra as well. The Heat have held a great spot, 4th in the Eastern Conference, and his young core has been playing great as well. Those inexperienced guys, the guys making big leaps like Bam, you got to give respect to the coach for getting that out of his players. Yeah. So that wraps it up. There, we got all of those awards down packed. It's going to be exciting to see what happens in the NBA season. Next episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about the COVID situation and the NBA expecting to return. So stay tuned for that. But, it's going to be exciting to see what happens later on in the season and who ends up getting these awards. Yeah. So we just want to give a little, special acknowledgement right now to things that are going on in this world. Adam, I know you got the first thing to acknowledge here.
Yeah. Like I said last episode, COVID-19. Thank you to all the essential workers for the work and dedication they've put in during this tough time. And me and Gabe really appreciate your work.
Yeah, we got to make sure everyone stays safe. You can't forget about what's going on there, especially when a lot of shift is focused at these protests. So make sure everyone stays safe, wear your masks, stay hygienic. But we also want to acknowledge and encourage the peaceful protests that have been going on to continue to fight against this injustice. And we got to make our voices heard, right? Police brutality it's something that needs to stop around the world. Yeah. And everyone should try to do anything they can, whether that be to raise awareness, sign petitions, donate to foundations, really do whatever is within your means of possibility. So, we're going to be putting a link to a Black Lives Matter donation page in our Rapzville Instagram bio.
Yep.
So please, if you have the means of doing so, please donate to that cause. And yeah, thank you all for coming. This podcast is going to be on Spotify. We're going to try getting it up on Instagram, see if we can get that done on our Anchor podcast. We know it's on Google Podcasts, and we're working towards Apple Podcasts, so stay tuned for that. But, thank you all for coming. We hope you all enjoyed. And that's us signing out. Peace.
Peace.